Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning into Gray Shot Down. I am Gray Shot Down. This time on a solo edition behind the wheel, doing my husbandly duties for doggone sci-fi. Heading off to work on some school projects today. So, trying a different perspective, figured I'd put the Insta 360 look up on top of the car instead of the drone Wilson view perspective for this particular drive. Figured I'd try it out and see what it looks like. If you guys are liking the content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We all know how that helps this crazy YouTube algorithm. And as you guys will see on the map data, it would want to go up there and make a U-turn up in that cul-de-sac. So what I'm going to do is manually take over here and make this left. And I am following doggone sci-fi in front of us in her Model 3. So let me manually drive and catch up to her. And I'll re-engage here and let it take everything else for me. Go, it's a green light, go. Nice thing about doing the solo drives is that I can do longer drives due to the battery life of the cameras. Downside of it is obviously you guys don't get the aerial perspective of it. So let me know in the comments down below. Do you guys mind the short 10, 15-minute drives, or would you prefer this much longer 30-minute drive section where I can speed it up into 3 minutes or so and you guys can see it online and then see the unedited content later? Definitely a smoky day out here in the Tri-Cities. We have quite a bit of fires going on in the Pacific Northwest, as I'm sure many of you can relate. I am curious, viewers, what is your favorite Tesla model? Obviously, I have my favorite, but we all have our own personal favorite model. I'm curious what it is. Perhaps it's one not even in production yet. Comment in the comments below. Since I'm following a Model 3, I'll comment about my favorite features about the SX versus 3Y. In the S and X, it's my understanding that the acoustic glass, or the double laminated glass, is all the way around, which means that it's the front, rear, sides, all of it's laminated glass. I think that's accurate. I know for sure it's the sides, and I know for sure it's the front. I'm not so much certain on the rear, but judging from how I've driven this car, I would guess that it's probably dual laminated. It's very quiet in comparison to 3Y. Air suspension in this car can't be beat. It rides so smooth. If you want it to ride like a Cadillac, it's very easy to go into the air suspension settings, adjust the dampeners, adjust the ride height, and make it just float seamlessly through the road. If you want it to be like that plaid sports car that we all know this thing is, it can stiffen up very easily by slamming the ride height down into low, stiffening the suspension up. You can even go into the custom settings of the car and adjust it to your liking. It's really quite cool. Versus in the Model 3 not having the air suspension, it simply just has the coil suspension. And don't get me wrong, it's a great handling, great riding car, but the air suspension can't be beat. I know it is controversial. I am pro yoke. I absolutely love the yoke steering wheel. I typically drive about 99% of my driving in full self-driving. And so for me, I like the yoke. I think for long trips, it makes it really nice to be able to rest your hands on it very gently. But I understand that some like the round steering wheel. I know Kyle from Out of Spec Motoring prefers the round, and I think ergonomics wise, it makes sense for if you're going to drive the car more frequently, you might prefer the round steering wheel. But I like this to be able to see the dash, see what's going on, especially for long trips. Plus, it looks cool. I think if we were breaking the Teslas into price categories and saying that if you were buying a Tesla in a mid-price category, which Tesla would I buy? Because that would be the 3 or the Y. And if I had to choose between the two of those, I honestly think I'd pick the Y. I understand why everybody's picking that car. It's got a hatchback. It's very functional. It seats 4. In fact, it seats 4 incredibly comfortable, and it seats 5 in a pinch. And then obviously some will comment that it seats 7, but let's be honest, that's for small people. When it comes to the high-priced cars, I think it depends on your family situation. If you have multiple people in your family, then yeah, an X is probably the way to go. But if it's just a family of 3 or 4, maybe at the most, say for instance, it's a couple with a single kid, uh, you might consider a Model S. You know, this car's an incredible ride, gets better mileage. Plus, it has the air-cooled seats. 22 speaker sound system. Highly recommended. Might have to take over with the cones here, but we'll see what the card wants to do. Got a cone sticking out there. Oh, it swerved nicely for it. Yeah. Good driving. I'll tell you what though, I don't really care what model of it, what model it is. I'll take any Tesla over any other car, just because of how smooth they drive, because of how easy the reliability is. There's way too many pros. Uh, I always say the pros outweigh the cons, and that's been true for us. The pros have, for sure, far outseated the cons. Changing the speed there, that's been an issue for a couple of builds where it just drops down. 40 is the recognized speed for that whole area. We think it might just be bad map data. Well, as we approach our destination, I do want to thank you for watching the content. And if you are liking the content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, I am Gray Shot Down. This has been Gray Shot Down's full self-driving Tesla 11.4.4 solo drive. Whoa, I need to take over here. I'm not sure why it's getting a bit squirrely. All right, I'm taking over. I'll manually drive through the intersection and re-engage there. Sometimes that happens. But I would say that that is far rarer nowadays than it used to be. In the early 10 builds, that happened pretty frequently, but in the version 11 builds, that's what I tried to say. It's been so smooth. I mean, you guys see I've been driving for half an hour and I had to take over once. So, autonomy is coming. It's a reality, whether one wants to recognize it or not. And I think it's going to change a lot of people's lives for the better. And I'm going to take over here because I need to go in the other entrance. And since it's rerouted, I'll re-engage. All right, you guys. Well, thanks for tuning in.